And if he went through the things in his life that I did, he might not have been governor, right? He didn't understand that, though. And, you know, the day that I got all happy and stuff from doing that work, looking in the mirror and saying, I love you every day, I ran down to the Maplewood Club afterwards to share my joy with the people that were outside of the club waiting for the meeting to start. They're all out having fun. And I stopped in the middle of the pavilion. Sorry, I do say a couple of cuss words during my speech, but you know, this is exactly what I said at the time. I ran to the middle of that pavilion, I raised my voice, and I said, check out this shit! You guys gonna love this shit! And they stopped what they were doing, you know, and looked over at me, and dang, what's wrong with dude, you know? And I said, this morning I looked in the mirror and I said, Timothy, I love you. And I meant it. I meant it. Probably sounded more like a Joel Osteen commercial than anything. And I'll never forget this one woman, the way she reacted to it. She took a big hit off of her cigarette. You know, when someone separated themselves from you somehow, she's kind of like looking over her shoulder toward me like this. Didn't even face me, you know, really. Took a big hit off of her cigarette, blew a plume of smoke up in the air, and I clearly remember her saying, what? Are you going to kiss yourself too? Well, no, I wasn't going to kiss myself too. I wasn't mad at her. There was nothing to forgive. She didn't know better. Why would I be mad at her? Forgive her. She doesn't know what she's doing. Forgive the governor. He didn't know what he was doing. The chief prison psychiatrist, it doesn't matter what he thinks, you know. He didn't know about AA, he didn't know I'd ever sober up and all these things. They don't know any better. They are spotless. They have no idea. And to this woman's credit, you know, a couple of years later, she approached me and said, oh yeah, you remember when I said, oh yeah, I remember. She said, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. You know, it's like, she did that for herself. I totally, like, pretty much didn't think about it anymore other than to tell a story as an ad maybe or something, you know. And I thought, yes, she got it. And so I am more than my mugshot, and there's something I want you to hold on to this idea, is that none of us in this room should ever believe a story that doesn't empower us. If it doesn't make you stronger, if it doesn't empower you, you need to evict that from your consciousness. Never believe any story, especially the one that you tell yourself, because your perception is in charge of that story. Don't buy it. Only believe the ones that you want to think about that empower you. Nietzsche said, if it doesn't kill us, it only makes us stronger. Well, Nietzsche was an atheist. He didn't know there was a God. Even if it kills you, it still makes you stronger. So Nietzsche's up there in heaven now looking down saying, yeah, well, maybe. I don't know what his personal heaven looks like, but C.S. Lewis said that the door to hell is only open from the inside. It's an inside job. You have to let yourself out. That self-imposed prison. Do it now. Don't wait until you have a near-death experience or something and you're going to see the light and they send you back and say, make it a whole lot. There was the bloodiest 47 acres in America where I did time for killing little Timmy, and I pled guilty, and I called this another brick. It's one of the worst prisons in the country, in the history of our country. Not a fun place to be at. And I pled guilty because I saw the photographs of the stroller with the blood on it, and I just knew there was no way in the world I could bring this mom into a trial to re-experience losing her loved one again. So I pled guilty, and I served 5 years, 10 months, and 1 day in this prison, and that's where I became racist. Started a racist gang there, and started a lot of trouble with the system and everybody. It's not a happy person to be around. No one comes out of prison the way they went in. That's one of the rules. Here's when I got out of Stillwater Prison on 8/17 of 90. We got the Aryan Nation symbol there that I used to be part of. I was a Church of Jesus Christ Christian. I wasn't the Aryan Nation side. but what's the difference, right? You know, and I was showing, yeah, you guys ain't done nothing to change me. You know, guess what I was going to do? I was going to join a militant organization for the violent overthrow of the United States government, or I was going to go to Ireland and join the IRA and kill people over there. Somebody's dying. And on August 16th, I'm looking at the guys in prison, and I'm thinking, you know, if I got to come back to prison again, I can't do it anymore. I've done too much time. This is just, if I can't do it, if I ever come back here again, and these are the words I literally thought, and I meant it, you know. I was looking at this one guy, and my anger that I had for him, and I just thought, if I have to come back, I was so spiritually bankrupt, my life had become so miserable. I thought, if I have to come back, I'm going to plant a piece of steel in somebody's chest if they so much as look at me sideways. Somebody's dying. It's either that or I'm going to force them to plant a piece of steel in my chest, but somebody's dying. That's how bad I was. And that's how much I needed recovery. And they made me sign a document that I will not drink, and if I get caught drinking, you're going back to prison. But I wanted to prove that I'm not an alcoholic, even though I did sober up on the 19th, and found out that I know I'm somebody because God don't make no drunk. That's up in the Stillwater Club. But on the 18th, I drank. When I drank alcoholically, and I had a miracle happen in my life. The way I behaved that night, I always got arrested. And I didn't get arrested this night. Excuse me. Try as I might, I couldn't get arrested. No bouncers, no fights in the bar outside of the parking lot or anything like that, you know. And I really tried so hard to get in fights, and no one would fight me. They just shook their head and walked away and said, "You're an idiot," you know. And I couldn't get in trouble. I literally felt like I was walking through the field of the enemies of my life that I created for myself, and I couldn't get in trouble. And then when the bars closed in Minnesota, I got mad and I caught a cab to Wisconsin and drank for the last, 40 minutes or something, because it was right across the bridge from Stillwater. I just drank in every bar in Stillwater. They got guards that drink in Stillwater, right? If one of them would have someone reported me, I'd have went back to prison. But after drinking in Wisconsin, I went back to my apartment, was sicker than I'd ever been, and at 3:30 in the morning, I realized for the first time that I was an alcoholic. I got honest for the first time. And I already knew my life was unmanageable, never cared, but I just never thought I was powerless. Now I knew I was, and then I did step 2. I came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Then I did step 3. I turned my will and my life over to the care of God, all at 3:30 in the morning, August 19th of 90. And I started attending meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's where I got sober. You sell these medallions up in Serenity Books. They will stamp your sober date on it if you want one. And these are the people that I made friends with in MAD. Even a cop standing next to me smiling, and he wrote me a reference for the pardon, and which the governor never read, He didn't read one thing that I did right, and that's okay, because it actually serves me now. It made me stronger, not weaker. It was hard for the first few days, though. I was kind of, but I got over it. God allows U-turns. I love that, And the people in the upper center, the guy in green, Mark, Mary Jo's son that was killed, that's his brother. And he speaks for MAD. The woman with my arm around, her husband was killed by a drunk driver. We're friends. This guy in the upper right, he and his friends were driving under the influence of alcohol and pot, crashed, and now he's paraplegic for about 30 years. He and I are friends. The woman in the middle bottom here, her son was killed by an alcohol-impaired driver. We spoke for years, maybe 10 years together frequently. She and I are friends. You know, people that have had these horrible tragedies became friends with me. That's what service work does. They get to see the offender as a human being, and it takes time. This picture here, her son was killed. We just got done speaking at a MAD panel. That's when I first joined MAD. I had darker hair and more hair. And this woman was her daughter was hit by a drunk driver, and when she went into a hospital room and didn't recognize her own daughter, and when she realized it was actually her, she said if the guy who hit Chris would have been in that room at that moment, and she had a double-barrel shotgun, she'd have pulled both triggers with no hesitation. But after we were together speaking on panels for about 3, maybe 4 years, don't know how long it was, in a MAD panel, she told the audience, she said, the guy that hit Chris, I wanted to hurt him so bad for so long, but I no longer feel that way. Why? Because of him. Turned around and pointed right at me. She said, I got to know this guy over time, and at first I thought he was full of it. I didn't want anything to do with him, but he came and asked to do work with Matt. I put him to work, and I gave him, quote, every shit job I could find for a year trying to get rid of him. And I thought, shit job? I'm never getting any shit jobs? You know, and I mean, yeah, I was cleaning toilets and stealing a couple thousand envelopes and doing all this stuff, you know, but when you're in a service mode and it's about love, you don't notice that stuff, right? I didn't know what she gave you. And then she said, but then he kept sticking around and it slowly changed my heart, she said. And now I no longer feel that way about the guy who hit Chris. She said, I not only would trust Timothy with my life, I would trust Timothy with the life of my daughter. Service work can do so much to heal our world, even if we've done something as horrible as I did. And there we go. And I don't know why I put that close up there, but I did. Here's the book I wrote, The Little Book of Miracles, Stories from the Incomplete Skeptic. It just simply relates a lot of the miracles that transpired in my life. And really, God is about love. God is love, and we're commanded to love one another. That's what this is about. And I put a picture of myself there when I was working at HCYF, sitting at the desk one day, and whited out a bunch of stuff in the background that had some names of clients and stuff, and I used that picture. The reason I did that is because I know when I buy a book, I'm going to see what the person looks like. You know, again, the eyes are the windows to the soul. What does this person mean to me as I look at this person? And that's why I put it there. It's not like an exercise in narcissism, like the lady thought you had to kiss yourself. It's not like that. And so that's the book, and I'll be selling that up by the cafeteria later today. And here's your assignment. I got the mirror therapy. I'm not asking you to do this one. Here's your assignment. It's a 1-year grand 12-month experiment, right? Every day for 1 year, I'm going to ask you to do this. Journal it if you can. You know, people that are in recovery that journal, they have the strongest recovery. That's what I've noticed. And that's just my opinion. There's a lot of ways to do this, not a judgment. But keep track of your progress on this assignment. Tell 3 people a day that you love them. Why? Because if you don't tell 3 people a day that you love them, you have probably wasted a day of your life. What wastes in your life? This is about love. Even the ones that are hard to love for you, whoever that is, it looks different for each and every one of us in this room, right? But make sure that when you tell 3 people a day that you love them, don't pick them from your easy list. You know, oh yeah, to come home and tell Tricia I love you. Oh, that's nice, yeah. You know, she probably wants to see it more than she wants to hear it. But you know, sometimes we need to hear it. We're all different. But and sometimes that person that needs to hear that they are loved by you might be you in the mirror. Who knows? But make sure that at least one of those people that you say I love you to don't look like you. They don't look like you. They might not have your orientation. They might not even have your politics. They might have voted for someone that you're resentful at. You know, resentment's the number one offender. Kick that shit to the curb, man. You know? Whoever it is, dump it. Dump it quick. If you don't, it might throw you away. You can think what you want, but don't be resentful over it. Don't judge over it. Our country is addicted to judgment. Break that addiction by telling people that you love them. Replace the addiction with love. You have to displace it in that way. Nothing else works. And so as you're telling 3 people a day, look for someone that makes you scared to say that to. I remember walking home maybe a month ago, and 2 blocks away, you know, I just had this feeling in my heart and spirit, you know, I call it the Holy Spirit, told me I was supposed to tell this woman in a wheelchair that I love her. And I got scared right away. I don't know her, you know, it's like, and I want to get closer and closer and closer to her, you know, I'm hoping that she'll like drive away in her wheelchair and disappear before I get there, you know, but yet I want to face my fear, and I finally get there. And I walk up and I put my hand on her shoulder and I said, have you been told today that you are loved? She looked at me really like, and said, well, no. And I said, well, you've heard it now, look. And tears welled up in her eyes. She might not have heard that for a very long time. Guess what? There is people in our world that have maybe never heard someone who looks like you say, I love you. You know, there might be people that have not heard that in many years. Our program is about love, nothing else. And if you love someone, you won't hurt them. And if you love someone, you will also serve them. So today, be the reason someone feels loved. Be the change you want to see, as Gandhi said. And guess what? I ain't going back to daycare. Why? Because I feel loved. As long as presence of love is in my life, I don't want to do those destructive, painful things to myself and others. You know? So we forgive, notwithstanding the temperature of our hearts. And you want to take a picture of the front of my business card. There's my email if you want to get a hold of me. My phone number, feel free to text or anything. My website is on the very top, Cameron-Communications with a Z, because somebody took the S. I don't know, the audacity of some people. And .org, because I didn't know the difference between net, org, and com at the time. But anyway, that's what it is. And so, like I say, if you love someone, you won't hurt them. And if you love yourself, you won't hurt yourself. And if you love someone, you will serve them. And on that note, I just want to say thank you for letting me serve you today.